This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast, where we amp you up to get to your next promotion. My name is Jason Schroeder, and today's topic is the shorter one for project managers. We are discussing the Stockdale Paradox. And here's the principle. We must be realistic about what is really going on our projects. We must bring problems to the surface. Triggering red flags and noticing roadblocks is a project manager's main job. That is their main focus. And in fact, when I tell teams about the cycle that we get into with the first and last planner system, when they use their huddle boards, when we talk about field huddles and team huddles, I always mention that the main thing a project manager and a director and a senior superintendent will do is look at the list of roadblocks that's on the board and make it their number one task to remove those roadblocks in a day to enable everybody on the project site to do what they need to do, and so that they can trigger problems, meaning they can see if we're in trouble from a schedule standpoint, a financial standpoint, a quality standpoint, or a safety standpoint. And so I'm going to go through a little summary here, which I really enjoyed. If you haven't read Jim Collins' books, I recommend them to you highly. I once worked for a company that based most of their operations from these books, and it was an absolute game changer. So the book I'm referencing is Good to Great. I'm not recommending you read it in this specific podcast. So I do want to bring out this small section, this small concept from this book right now and bring it to you so that you can use it in your leadership and your style on your projects. And so the top takeaways for this concept is that good to great leaders exhibit a psychological duality that Collins dubs the Stockdale Paradox, a stoic acceptance of business realities coupled with an unwavering faith in the eventual triumph. And I would rephrase that to say a stoic acceptance of project realities coupled with an unwavering faith in eventual triumph. And I would say for project managers, this unwavering faith is a faith that things will work out because you had a stoic acceptance of problems and noticed them early enough to do something about it. In the same way that leaders maintain discipline in their hiring and firing decisions, these types of leaders, what I'm encouraging you to be, stays disciplined in terms of realities, of roadblocks, of hindrances, of major problems, of risks on the project. In fact, project managers will maintain the risk and opportunity register and constantly go back to that with a second set of eyes, with circling in the wider part of the team, meaning circling in other people that can help him or her with the brutal facts and to really get to situations where we can find a win-win. If the facts are clear, these leaders will respond to those facts without hesitation. In order to respond to facts, leaders must cultivate a culture in which facts can be discovered and expressed without fear of reprisal or blame. And so I do want to mention that a lean culture will always bring problems to the surface. Every project has problems. Everyone has problems. Every marriage has problems. Every situation has problems. Every project has problems. And the great leaders don't hide the problems or make it look like there aren't problems. The best leaders bring those problems to the surface, creates a culture where everyone else does the same thing, and then they remove those problems, they remove those roadblocks for the good of the project. And although these leaders are always checking themselves against reality, they don't respond to every little thing like in a dramatic way, meaning they respond to the facts in a calm and professional way, looking at the facts first. So let's talk about the Stockdale Paradox quickly. Admiral Jim Stockdale was one of the highest-ranking U.S. prisoners at the infamous North Vietnamese POW camp dubbed the Hanoi Hilton. Over the course of his 8-year imprisonment, he was tortured more than 20 times and suffered unimaginable physical and psychological pain. When Collins asked him which prisoners didn't make it, he replied, "The optimists." The optimists were the ones who thought they would be rescued well before they actually were. With each optimistic prediction, we'll be out in a month, we'll be out by the end of the season, we'll be out by Christmas, that didn't come to fruition, these soldiers lost more and more of their will to survive. They died of broken hearts. Stockdale endured because he was able to confront and manage the brutal reality of his day-to-day life in the camp, interrogations, torture, without losing hope that one day he would be freed. So how would we lead like Stockdale? Each leader has to face adversity on its path, on the project's path to finishing on time and being a success. Whether the data or the roadblocks or the information or any of the risks are like really hard to deal with or not. These leaders approach these challenges in the same way that Stockdale did his imprisonment. They accept and address the brute facts of reality while never losing faith that the project will emerge victoriously. And so how do we create that culture? The first way that we create that culture is to question things first and then offer answers. Let's not jump to the conclusion once we see a roadblock or a problem or an issue and say, oh, here's the solution. We need to conduct meetings Socratically and thoroughly and ask the right questions. We need to make sure that we get people talking about the problems in an open and honest format. And we need to make sure that we're able to debate sometimes to find out what the real information is. Not for show, not for authority, not for, trying to play boss with people. We're not getting angry, but to actually discuss back and forth what the root cause of the problem might actually be so that we can actually know what the problem is. All too often, leaders will solicit input from other people just to give them a sense of being heard, and then they pursue the direction they've already decided on. We can't do that. We actually have to debate. We actually have to disagree. We actually have to get down to the brute facts to actually fix what's going on so that we can make sure our projects finish on time. So we have to cultivate these atmospheres and make people feel safe. And then if something that we've decided to do goes wrong, we analyze it without blame. We blame the process, we blame the resources, we blame the standards first, and we don't blame the people so that people can feel safe. One of the best things I was ever taught was a leader that once said, hey, when you're talking to somebody else, hold out your hand, or if you have a table in between you, point to the bowl and say, this issue is in the bowl, it's in my hand. It's not you, I'm not talking to you, I'm not blaming you. You and I are both talking to the issue in the bowl or in my hand. It's a third-party thing, it's a process, it's a condition, it's a standard, it's a resource, it's this thing that I'm blaming over here. I'm not blaming people. And in that conversation, people will be made to feel safe, and they can have discussions and bring up all the brutal facts about the situation as if it's you and them attacking the problem, which is actually what it should be. And we have to be able to create this culture and make sure that we have alarm bells, alarm systems that will allow us to see problems before they become big. And one reason that projects fail is that we don't see problems before they get too big. And so we have to really analyze and deal with and accept the brutal facts. And that's why we have schedule triggers. That's why we have financial triggers. That's why we have quality triggers. That's why we have safety triggers. And let me just mention two of those. For a schedule, I always advocate that we have a fully built master schedule, that we have a tact plan, and that we're able to see deviations in flow and in the critical path. And that schedule should be built out all the way to the end so that we can see when we obtain negative float and when our schedule is going into the red and when we have problems meeting the date with our critical path and we might not have any more contingency left. And a schedule that won't trigger me early to a problem is useless because that's what it has to do. Secondly, safety. When you go out on your project sites, project managers, if you see uncleanliness, if you see unorganization, if you see different standards, bad morale, if you see things that aren't up to your standards, and you should have really high standards, those are triggers to trigger us that there's a safety problem coming, whether those are near misses or whether those are first aid cases or whether they're anything like that. A good project manager will set up systems where we see those red flags, those roadblocks early. We'll fanatically try and remove those. We'll create a culture where people are incentivized to bring problems up, and we'll work to make sure that they don't derail the overall success of the project. I hope this helps. The ultimate end for this podcast, for me saying these things, is so that you can go be a more remarkable leader and do those things that you need to do to keep your project on track. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. at jasons@elevateconstructionist.com or reach out to me on LinkedIn or Facebook. And please let me know if you want further clarification or if you want any other cool information dealing with this particular topic or if you want to give us feedback. Until we meet again, make sure that you set up your systems to where they will red flag you if there's a problem early so you can fix it so you keep your project on schedule. On the then.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.